Welcome back to the Lighter Side Show. I'm your host, Jamie Butler, that everyday medium. Thank you so much for being here. You're going to love who we have in studio today. It is our first yogi on the set, Leigh Mallis, and I adore her so much. Before we dive into all of this great stuff, I'd like to give you some housekeeping notes. You guys are always asking, where are the classes? What's going on? So I'm going to say, check out the website, jamiebutlermedium.com. That's where all the public channelings are. That's where all the classes are listed. But if you are studying or want to become an advanced medium and you already have the basics behind you, come check out our advanced mediumship class that is in Atlanta at the Center for Love and Light, and that is the weekend of March 24th. And guess what? If you come, not only will you get a hug by Colleen, who's hiding behind the camera, you will also get a Kundalini lesson from the Leigh Mallis. Look how that wraps around. And that just leads us right in her lap of wanting to know, what I want to know, how, my Leigh Mallis, did you get where you are? And Lumineers, as you're listening, if you love what you're hearing, let us know. Please send us a note, a comment, connect with us, let us know what else you want to know. And if you're really digging Leigh's story, check out her website at leighmallis.com, and that is Leigh, L-E-I-G-H, which is the only and best way to spell it.
And leighmallisyoga.com.
leighmallisyoga.com. Thank you for the correction.
Absolutely.
I got so excited about the Leigh spelling because
Yes.
Leigh is my middle name, and that's how I spell it as well. And I don't
It's the
run
only
across,
way. It's the
right?
only way.
I don't see a lot of other people spelling their name this way, and here you are.
Yes.
I always dreamed when I was little to go by, my middle name, Leigh. But it never stuck because Jamie Lee Summers, the Bionic Woman, was so popular. And so, I know. And that's pretty much where I came from. And that always stuck. It was Jamie Lee. In the South, you have to have two.
Oh, you do?
Two names.
Yes.
So when your mother goes out into the yard, she really has something to yell. Did you grow up in the South?
I grew up in the South, and interestingly enough, my mother actually did not even give me a middle name.
I'm sitting with someone
I
with no
grew
middle
up
name.
just
You're truly Leigh.
Taylor. Leigh Taylor was the maiden name. So when I got married, I moved Taylor to the middle so that I would have a middle name.
Really?
Yes. People used to say, no, I promise I won't tell anyone. What is it? Like it was too embarrassing to tell. I'm like, no, really, I don't have one.
Like it's just not there.
There is no middle name. From the South. Can you believe it?
No. What was your mama thinking?
Right.
You can't get out in the yard and just do one syllable.
I love it.
All right, what I'm most intrigued, Leigh, is that you teach Kundalini yoga.
Yes.
And I have to say that it was the first yoga experience that I ever had. And it was back in the mid-1990s.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know what yoga really was, that there were different styles of it.
Right.
I just knew that I loved how I felt with this one. It was different. It made energy happen for me.
Right.
And somebody handed me a cassette, and I still have. I have no way of playing it, but I still have it, right? The cassette tape, and it had like a piece of paper in it that you would unfold to get a hand-drawn shape of what the body would look like if you were in that pose.
Right.
And that's what I had.
Yeah.
I did that for decades.
I love it.
And I searched for somebody like you in Atlanta. Couldn't find anybody. It's like you were underground. And then all of a sudden when I found one person that were like, oh my God, well, Leigh Mallis does this yoga. It's at her house.
Yeah.
So like you weren't really in a studio or something. And all of a sudden every person I came across said your name. And it was like, I get it, universe. We found her. We found her. And I had an opportunity to come to a class, and you are straight up the Kundalini. And you've been practicing this for...
Practicing for over 20 years now, which is weird to say.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're not that old, don't worry.
I know, I'm like, wait, 20 years? How could I be doing something for 20
You
years?
started when you were 8.
Yeah, exactly. I was very young.
Lumineers, if you know Laura Boone, you know this is how she tells time as well. Which, by the way, as we're filming, it is her birthday. Happy 50th, Laura Boone. Oh, yes.
You never know.
That is something to celebrate.
It is.
She looks nowhere near it.
No.
But that's what,
That's right.
linear time, that's what it's giving us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
We digress. and so when I went to your class, like you were really focusing on Kundalini. It wasn't this kind of mixed pool that I was coming across with all the other teachers.
Right.
And it just made my mouth drop open.
Yeah.
And now I'm literally Lumineers trying to figure out how do I redo my work schedule so that I can be Wednesday mornings with Leigh Mallis.
That would be amazing.
It would be amazing. Over
Yeah.
20 years experience. You've been teaching yoga for 17 years? And you have a class right now, or coming up, right?
We're just started Pranic Soul teacher training, second volume, second group that just started. And what I found is, like, I love working with a small group of people where we get this group intention and there's sort of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it has so much meaning in that deep work, because it's really about helping them self-transform to uncover their true self so that they can become the teacher that they're meant to be. So I'm not trying to make them me, right? That wouldn't be right. I'm trying to give them the tools to uncover their selves, to find their voice, to go out and spread what their message is through yoga.
And that is the sign of an incredible teacher.
Well, thank you.
It is. And for me, that's what I'm looking for, is somebody who can say, well, I love what I do and how I see it, and I'm passionate about the way I engage with it, but I care more about how you're going to create the relationship with it.
Absolutely.
And you give it to them that way.
Yeah.
But when you teach these, like, they're intense, aren't they? Like,
right, yeah.
What are the hours on
So it's a 200-hour, like, certification, which we do over the course of 3 months, 12 weeks. We meet for 5 hours a day on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then there's a lot of homework that they do, and there's a lot of outside of that, there's also a lot of practice that they maintain, a 40-day meditation that they have to do. And now that means consecutively, so I had to tell them that if you miss day 39, you start over.
You would pick the last possible day to miss?
If. There might have been one student that did that, and so it was good for them, because then it almost was like, 80 days. But yeah, it's about creating that habit and creating that ritual and creating that love. Like, I want meditation for them to become like brushing your teeth. Like, it's just something that you can't live without.
What, is that not my favorite thing to compare it to?
Yes! No.
I tell people, go get some Scotch tape and wrap it around your toothbrush handle.
Right.
Because it'll irritate you when you go to grab it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go to grab your toothbrush, something you hopefully do every day, maybe twice a day.
Right. Yeah, hopefully.
You're thinking about setting your intent.
Yeah.
Bringing your thoughts in.
Right.
Meditation, all the things that we want you to do.
Because when you develop that practice and it becomes that ritual for you, you do miss it when you don't have it, and you do realize the benefits. It might take a little while to understand the effects of it truly, but once you get that, you realize, oh yeah, this is the thing that creates the space.
I've actually heard stories that you're very, if I can use the word addicted, that you're very addicted to it.
Yes.
My neighbor, actually several of my neighbors come to you quite frequently, and they'll say, oh no, I showed up for her 6 a.m. class, and Leigh was like, oh, I've been up for hours. Come on in. And my neighbor goes, hours? What do you mean?
You do have to get up early. You do. Well, you don't have to, but for me, because when I'm teaching, it's not my practice. So my practice has to happen before everybody wakes up. So 5 a.m., that's not so early. But it is if you're staying up till midnight. Like right now, I'm kind of burning both ends because I'm having to also do the homework for the teacher training, right, to prepare. So it's kind of been late, like midnight, and then get up at 5. But naps are really good.
They're key?
They're key. And when you are a yogi, you can you could have a cup of coffee or tea, and then you can lay down in the bed and command yourself to go to sleep. I can just go to sleep.
So you're saying that the caffeine, if there's caffeine in it.
Yeah, I still, you've trained your body
so you
through
have a
practice.
better relationship with your physical body.
Yes, and I can lay down and just
Yeah, but you're also married, mom of 2. Can you do that with your kids? Be like, okay, kid bodies, this is what's happening. Yes. You're going to go in this room and you're going to take a nap too while mama sleeps.
They love it when I take a nap, because usually I say, I kind of don't care what you do for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to lay down. Which means that they get a little free time.
That's so odd. You got so much on your plate, but it sounds like everything on your plate is truly you.
It is.
Like it's not. I think a lot of people from the outside go, well, I'm already too busy. How am I ever going to add another discipline or,
right,
wannabe habit
right.
into my
right.
life? But
well, the interesting thing is when I was going through my first teacher training, because there's been lots of teacher trainings through the years, because we're always a student. You know this. Like, we're always a student. Any teacher should always be a student. But the very first one, I remember we were doing a prosperity sort of workshop within the structure of the training. And it was like really getting clear about your goals. And now I was in my 20s. So the goals at that point, long term, were to be a mother, which it took years for me to get there, right? Just because I wasn't ready. Mother, yoga teacher, and like an amazing wife. Those were the goals. And now, 20 years later, 17 years later, check. But those roles, within each of those roles, there's like so much. There's just so much that you can do, right? It doesn't mean there's not more, but it's like those still are the top 3 things that I'm doing and that are happening and that keep growing within that. Because as you know, as a mother, like the role as a mother is like forever expanding and forever changing.
Yes.
And forever challenging.
Forever.
And the same with a partnership, a marriage. I mean, David and I actually met in 1996, and we've been together ever since. So, married 17 this year? No, wait, it's 2017. Yeah, so 17 this year or 18 is hard when you get
it's a good amount of years.
That's a long time.
It's more than 15.
That partnership evolves from being young lovers to becoming parents to becoming entrepreneurs, like all the things that we do. So it's just, there's a lot within those 3 roles.
So when you got clear on what you wanted, those kind of 3 topics that you
right.
hit, how were you able to get clear? Like, what's the story of how you found yourself and kind of made it come to fruition?
Well, if you want like the story.
Yeah, I kind of think I do.
We have to go way back because it's kind of, I feel like when I found myself in that first yoga class was sort of a pivotal point of coming back to the beginning of time. So, can we go back?
Yeah, what kind of age were you when you found the first yoga class?
First yoga class was 1998. I think I was 24. 23, 24. Probably 23.
Okay, so now that we've
now you know. Now everyone knows.
No, just a guesstimate of our head is as we're going back.
Right, so when we go back, I'm just going to take you back and it'll just sort of paint the picture of like the way that someone's life can go. So as a kid, when I look back now, I realize I was born super sensitive, intuitive little girl. Completely content being home, being with myself, having imaginary friends, pretending to be someone else, right? My mom would worry a little, and actually, you know what? I was this girl named Jamie. I would like leave the house, knock on the door, and I would pretend to be Jamie, and I had this imagination that was incredible, and tell stories about my animals, and really just was so content being home. And even friends in the neighborhood would call, and I would kind of be like, want to just kind of be home, content, safe, right, happy. And then 7 years old, around that time frame, 1st, 2nd grade, my parents divorced. Mm-hmm. So I can still remember that moment, like sitting in front of the fireplace with my mom and my brother and her telling us this news. And in that moment, they were crying, and I chose to come up and say, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. We'll see him on the weekends. It's all good. Like, I literally just stepped into this role of like caretaker, peacekeeper. We're going to be fine, optimistic, choose the light. But now I have this role that put me in touch with empathy for my mother, for my brother, who I could see their pain. And I went into this role of like, sort of like emotionally caretaking.
At 7.
At 7.
Birth like overnight from super sensitive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just decided that's...
Mm-hmm. And, then, so that, there's like a big detour. So like, right, you've got this like contentment, compassionate, whatever. And then now there's this detour of like, now, okay, I'm going to assume this role. Now some could say, because I've kind of gone through that process of like forgiving myself because I chose that. But then some might say, well, no, you also might have been sort of like, not manipulated is not the right word, but like there could have been that pressure to also caretake, through this
like
thing.
Displaced on you, maybe with not knowing that that's what's happening.
And now remember, this was before like people made long distance phone calls on the fly, right? So like it was all good, and then my dad was transferred like halfway across the country, so he lived in Texas and New Mexico, and like I think sometimes I block it out, but I think we might have talked just every now and again, saw each other like twice a year. So that like, shift of like, I guess most would call it abandoned. It felt abandoned.
Yes.
Surely still the love and all of that, but like we weren't FaceTiming. There was no FaceTime. Again, long distance calls were not like a thing that you did.
No.
Right, so just traveling to see each other was not often. Now the interesting thing that I will add is that my parents actually did end up remarrying each other.
Wait. Back it up for just a second. They got back together and married each other?
They did.
How long?
I believe I was like 8th grade. So then it was sort of like, but those formative years, right? And now my brother was 4 or 5 years older than me, so his formative years. So there was this span of time in the middle that like there was just this absence.
Yeah, like shattered, and then somehow pieces were glued together, and it was...
and they're married now.
Rock on, Mom and Dad.
And I'm like, so glad they are. But it's and of course they have their story. Like we all have our stories, which is so interesting. So this just happens to be mine. So derailed, right? And then through high school, just to give you an idea of the person I was, I loved everyone. I loved people. Like I wasn't like just in this clique, right? I had these friends, and I had those friends, and I had these friends, and I was an athlete, but I had the cheerleaders were my girls, and everyone. I was the first person to make friends with the people that moved from out of town. I'm like, please, can I have some new energy up in this school? I had several of my best friends were people that moved from somewhere else, and they might have only been there for a short amount of time, but I was like starving for just that connection with people. College. Right, I was an athlete in high school, kind of kept me on the straight and narrow a little bit. College, those were the searching years.
If somebody's saying they were first on a straight and narrow, we can kind of guess maybe what's coming next.
We'll just call it age-appropriate searching. How about that? Without going into too much detail. Searching, pushing the borders of darkness, and searching and searching. So without going into too much detail of all of that, I always say, like, God, if I'd found yoga, like, when I was a freshman in college, who knows what would have happened?
Who knows?
So, met my husband in college in 96. So I kind of, like, that's sort of like that pivotal point where the edges of the darkness were being pushed, and then there comes this guy. And we connect. And I always talk about, you meet people at a certain vibratory level. So we were sort of like, we had the same major, and we had the same things going on. We had similar friends, but we'd never met. There is even, this is going to you'll love this. First time he comes to my house, there's a picture tucked into the mirror. You know how you do that in college, tuck the picture in? Picture of my brother and I from a concert the summer before. He's like, who's this? What's this picture? And I tell him, and he's like, oh, I was at that concert. Let me see if I see myself. He is standing next to me.
He's not.
He is standing next to me. He is standing next to me. So I'm like, there's another picture in a frame on top of the TV upstairs. We have to go look because it's like my roommate and I. He's also in that picture. No, that was like a
Leigh.
Yeah, it's freaky. It's like we're just sort of like it wasn't time though. We weren't supposed. If we had met then, disastrous. Like it was like when we met, and we have been together forever since. So if I'm ever having those moments, I go back to the picture. I'm like, we're supposed to be. This is all meant to be. Good together.
Please tell me that one's like blown up, some arrows drawn on it.
I mean, it's so crazy, right?
Yes.
So then we start making decisions because now, like, the partnership and the connection is important, right? And then because it's the spark. It's like this spark of like hope of like a life together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we start making different choices. So the light becomes brighter, right? And then, we still are who we are. We're still in college. We're still kids. But we just kind of went on, and we traveled Europe after college. We came home with $0 and no job and started our lives. And it was at our engagement party that I didn't corner, but I was in the room with David's mom's dear friend Elizabeth, who was the artist that wore crystals, that drove the light purple Volvo.
Oh God, that's awesome.
And I'm like, it was just the two of us in this room. And I said, Elizabeth, I want you to take me to yoga. And right when I said it, the lights flickered in the house. And we both went, ooh. I'm serious. So she took me to my first teacher, and I never saw her again. I don't even know if she did yoga, but she took me to my first class.
You don't even know if she did yoga, but you were like, all right,
I want to go to yoga with
light
you.
purple Volvo and wear crystals.
And you're an artist, and wear crystals, you must be a yoga person. I'm like totally stereotyping her. So she brings me to Mukta in Dunwoody, Georgia, in someone's home. And I sit down for that first class, and I never saw her again. Like, she brought me there, and then that was it. But in that class...
Okay, we have to pause. You have to tell us what Mukta is.
Mukta was her name.
Okay,
it's a spiritual name, and it means liberation.
It does?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Actually, I remember Mukta from...
Do you know
she used
Mukta?
to shop at the store.
That's Colleen on camera.
Mukta and Grace High.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing people. Mm-hmm. And she still teaches, and he is my go-to acupuncture, kinesiologist, chiropractor. It's amazing. I send all kinds of people there. So here I am in Mukta's basement, about to be liberated. And it was in that first class where, and this is where we circle back, I came home to the little girl that was pre-divorce, that was content, that was the true self. And it blew my mind. Because
Before sitting at the fireplace. That like inner wisdom, that person who actually never left me the whole time. It's the Purusa, it's the true self, the Atman. It was like, it just went right to that place. And that's when, it was like, I tell people, I'm like, it's like the clouds parted and the angels sang. And I knew that I would teach this yoga. And I was in a corporate job, 100% commission, in the technology boom, making tons of money, and completely stressed out because there was no cap of the amount of money that I could make, and it was like go time. So I was working like crazy, and so everything in my life was fast-paced, and I had been a competitive runner growing up, minus college, and then this was sort of the thing that, again, just brought me back and like set me free from all that stress. And so every week I could not wait to get to my Monday night class. And then that is how it all started. But it was that shocking. Like you said, I didn't even know there were other styles of yoga. I thought, this is yoga and this is amazing and I am going to teach this. Was it Kundalini yoga?
It was Kundalini yoga. It was Kundalini yoga.
Yeah, there is something magical about this style.
Yes.
Of being in touch with your breath and your body.
Right. And so for me, it happened on the first class. Now with students that come, especially if they have found me through Vinyasa, because I also teach Vinyasa from sort of an Ashtanga lineage, because I'm also, that runner in me loves the real physical practice.
So are both of those styles real physical?
So Kundalini is physical and mental and emotional and spiritual and mantra and vibration and all the things.
But it's a lot more vibration.
It's a lot more vibration. Ashtanga is also a true lineage from Patabi Joyce that is like you're trying to put your foot behind your head and you're doing deep back bends, and so it's more that very physical. So for me, my Ashtanga practice has opened my body up and made me so strong to allow me to sit without pain in deep meditation for Kundalini. So for me, the two have been like a perfect marriage. But in that moment, in that class, the first one, I knew. So if I have students come to me from Vinyasa or Ashtanga, I usually say to them, because Kundalini is so not any of that, so different, I'm like, give yourself a commitment of like 3 to 4 classes, because a lot of times we have to give ourselves permission to go in.
Yeah. Oh,
People
yeah.
are not comfortable closing their eyes and being in a group setting and going in.
Oh yeah, because somebody might be looking at me.
Right.
Yeah, and
I mean, let me tell you some of the things we do. I mean, there's a lot of...
Wait, stop right there. Stop right there. For Lumineers, if you're just listening to this, you have to know that Leigh just stuck her tongue out, way out, the tip of her tongue facing down to the ground, and just panted. And we did this in the last advanced mediumship class, and I got so into that I had a sore underneath my tongue.
The little thing will get sore from sticking.
I had stretched it so far, and every time I would go to talk or eat something, I'd be like, Leigh Mallis and Kundalini yoga, because my tongue was so wicked sore.
Yes. We get in touch with all the places in the body.
I mean, but that's a really high energy point. Like when, for Lumineers, we talk sometimes about the Hu Yen position and holding energy and cycling it. Yeah. This is part of it.
Kundalini offers so many things, but it is, to me, the one thing that has allowed, like in Kundalini, we talk about, you don't just have one body, you have 10 bodies.
That sounds
like
cumbersome.
So like 10 bodies, what? How do I have 10 bodies? You have a soul body. You have a negative mind, a positive mind, a neutral mind, a physical body. You have a pranic body. You have a subtle body. You have an arc line. You have a radiant body. I mean, it's just, again, so like when you break it down into the layers.
Do we have time to break this down real fast? Because I'd like to. Like, I think I get the physical body. And I think our listeners can quickly understand the negative mind body, positive mind body, the neutral mind body. So we're 4 into this.
Well, and let's even just pause for 1 second there. So the soul body is what we're born with, right? The soul body. That's the soul that comes in.
Okay.
And then the mind is so prevalent in our everyday life, and that is the thing that people don't have control of usually. And it's like the 2-year-old toddler that's like throwing temper tantrums and has the like non-stop repetitive sounds. And so meditation helps you to get that under control, but understand that the negative mind reacts first because it's our protection mechanism.
Survival.
So the negative mind reacts. We have 9 seconds. This is all Kundalini teachings. We have 9 seconds to consciously choose to not stay in the negative, right? But to then see the positive. So the positive mind is like the optimist, but we need both. Because if you just are always negative, you're never going to leave your house because you're scared. But if you're only positive and you're kind of almost in denial that there is this other side. But what we do in yoga as yogis is like we learn to take the information from both the negative and the positive, and we come to the neutral mind. So we make decisions from a neutral place, which doesn't mean we lose our personality or we lose our ego, but we just are non-reactive so that we're like more in that space of peace. And so that gets into like the neutral mind is the Shushmana, which is the central spinal column. The positive and negative mind connects to the Ida and the Pingala, the sun, the moon, the positive, the negative.
Hello, basic mediumship class. We just went over this. Oh, good. But how did you? I say Shushumna.
Shushumna.
How do you say how do you pronounce it correctly then?
It could be that because I think I'm undiagnosed dyslexic. So I would have to stare at the word and then we would have to decide together.
Shushumna. Right, the neutral.
Like I sometimes say Shushmana, but again, I would probably need, this is just me saying it.
That sounds more like Kundalini. Like, that sounds like the real way of doing it.
So, and then that's where the Kundalini energy.
That's your neutral.
So for those that don't know what Kundalini is, Kundalini, all yoga, whatever style of yoga you're doing, the goal is to raise the Kundalini vibration, the energy. So it's 3.5 coils lying dormant at the base of the spine.
It's the snake that sleeps at the base of your spine.
Yes, freaky. No. And we awaken it to move through the chakras.
Now, my viewpoint of the Kundalini is kind of this extra source, this pool of energy, like our storage, kind of like the things that you want to keep private in a safe because they're so valuable, and that rests right between the hips, right at the base. Right. And like we don't dip into it every day.
Right.
We use it when we need it. Is that how it's perceived?
Well, and you know, the lower chakras, that lower triangle, you have to have a strong base in your lower, because this is all earthly plane. So like we have to be grounded to be here and to stay connected. And the hardest place to move is from those lower three to move up to the heart, right? And we need everybody to start getting in touch with their earthliness, but to be able to move it up to compassion. So the sutra for 2016 was understand through compassion or misunderstand the times. And it was sort of the end of the year where that really hit home.
It hit home.
It
hard.
hit home.
Everybody was doing retrospect and seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Now the cool thing is 2017, the sutra is vibrate the cosmos and the cosmos will clear your path.
And then it's just look directly into the camera, Leigh, and please say it one more time.
Vibrate the cosmos and the cosmos will clear your path. Like, wow, right? And you don't want to miss out on that.
I don't plan on doing that. Lumineers, don't miss out on this.
It's good stuff.
Part of not missing out of it, have a better relationship with your body.
Right.
Better relationship with your excess energy, your
Right.
Kundalini, staying grounded. What are some ways you stay grounded?
Well, meditation is definitely, meditation really elevates me. I think the way that I stay so grounded, and I have friends that do Reiki, and I love Reiki, and it always cracks me up because they're like, your root chakra, it's like branch. I mean, it's like I am
like
grounded. I am here.
When it's supposed to be the size of a golf ball, yours is like calm.
Right. Well, and you had a guy come once that was reading palms.
Sing
Modi. My one daughter who was with me reminds me. She's like, well, Sing Modi said you were a tree. So I think I'm really grounded.
I am too.
So anyway, but barefoot with the earth.
Is it like
Yes. Are you barefoot? Yes.
That's how I stay grounded. I'm
Yes.
kind of like that waiter on the Birdcage? What's the movie with Robin Williams?
Agador Spartacus.
Agador Spartacus.
Embarrassing that I know that.
Barefoot. Put some shoes on me and I go, huh?
Right.
What?
Right.
But let me be barefoot and I
Yeah.
feel like I got this. I
Yeah.
can do anything.
I mean, I'm definitely barefoot more than I'm not, right? We're barefoot in the house, we're barefoot when we teach yoga. So if people are not grounded, like just take your shoes off and go stand in the grass, right? Or go outside and just be barefoot, stay grounded.
I remember when that first bit of tidbit would come out. That was, God, maybe 15 years or so ago. And people thought, God, that's so woo-woo. That's so strange.
Or to like go touch a tree. Like I love that this is wood. I keep touching this tree. Yeah.
People are like, what? And now it's like, meh. It's something we do. Mm-hmm. Little how times change like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I would love to know. You said meditation to get grounded. And listeners might want to know as well, how often do you meditate and how long? And I know it's just an example for you.
Sure,
But
absolutely. Well, the great news is you can make a habit and make a change and have a response in 3 minutes.
wait,
3 minutes.
how long?
3 minutes. Now, the goal would be to go beyond 3 minutes.
Yes.
But even in the teacher training, I told them with the 40 days, I'm like, I want your goal to be 11 minutes. It's still not a long time. 11 is the number of infinity.
Okay, God, man, Leigh, when you said you had your students meditate for 40 days, my head went,
Yeah.
2 hours of meditation a day. Like, I went real big with it. You just said 11 minutes.
11 minutes. 11 minutes. Right? This is
I'm
2017.
in.
We're
I'm
in the
in.
technology. So, Yogi Bhajan, his big thing was that we have to develop our sensory system in the Aquarian age to stay sane. And the sensory system, because we are now in the technology age, right? We can have any answer to any question, Google, in 2 seconds. So it's not about the wisdom that you hold in your mind and as a secret. Everybody can know anything. It's more about deciphering what's true. So when you start to develop your sensory system, then you have to start to know without having to read 15 articles what is true. Because there's too much coming at us. Too much. The smartphones are making us stupid, right? It's like, put the phones away. Turn the television off. Develop your sensory system. And when you walk into a situation, your intuition should tell you what you need to know before anybody's even speaking.
Which I love this because, not to be hypocritical at all, but I too turn the TV off. I don't watch the TV. I don't really listen to the radio. I have some music on my phone that I like to listen to, but nature really calls to me. But the times that I get into binge watching or looking at things are shows and podcasts that are similar to us here at the Lighter Side and the Lighter Side Network. Oh my God, which is launching March 1st.
That is so exciting, by the way.
But like, I find that if I get into those shows and stuff that have a certain vibration that's feeding me the vibration of what I'm looking for, so I can get bigger, get grounded, and not sacrifice,
Right.
my,
Yeah.
I was going to call it my eye time.
The word you just used is like one of my favorite words, vibration. It's like if people could get their head around the idea, and I'll say this in yoga classes, like the moment at which you understand you are an energetic body and that you are vibrating, even as we sit here, our bodies are vibrating and we can't see it, but there's energy all around us. And when you can kind of get your head around that, then you start to become aware of the environments that you're allowing yourself to live in and exist in and walk into. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to become energy phobes, right? That's the first time I've ever used that word. Like, it's not like you can't go meet the dear college friend in the place that you used to go or whatever. Yeah, you're going to take on some of that, but you have all your tools in your meditation practice to just like clean it back up. Yes. So meditation's like taking out the garbage, cleaning the energy.
Okay, I want to know how you view discipline, because I think a lot of us Lumineers, when we hear the word discipline, half of us go, "Yay, a challenge, something to do," and the other half go, "Oh shit,
right."
I don't want to do that. I've had enough."
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that word, so I am really looking for that substitute word with discipline for the Luma dictionary.
Yes.
Lumaplan.
The Lumaplan.
The Lumaplan.
That's right. It's not discipline anymore. It's Lumaplan. Doing things with repetition based in light, based in what you need.
Right.
And
I love that you like discipline. Like if the word gets you excited, use that word. If the word makes you cringe, we have to change our perspective around what is discipline. Maybe it's that it's a ritual. Like I like the word ritual. So I have this ritual now. That and it's it's been years, but about 3 or 4 years ago we ended up getting a house, and I'm telling you, yoga connects everything for me. I was coming to this house that I now live in to teach Kundalini yoga privates to my friend that lived there, and I showed up one day and she said, "We have to move and I want you to have this house." Granted, I had lived in Inman Park for 9 years waiting for the house that we could A, afford, and B, get before someone else got. So here it was. And this could go on a big tangent over to how it was actually on my vision board. Like setting intentions and wow, right?
Yes.
So kind of another crazy thing with setting intentions. In the backyard, you've been there.
Yes.
There's this gigantic great white oak.
It's beautiful.
Huge, beautiful. I talk to it every day because I want it to always be healthy and happy. And on the vision board, year before, when you're making a vision board, you're pulling. This could be a whole nother podcast or
I was
a
about
show.
to say, I've got 2 other shows I want from you. I would like to do the creative visualization board, and I also want to do a Kundalini show.
Yes, we will do it.
Done.
But so there was an entire page. I pulled out an entire page of just a tree that looks like the tree in my now backyard. But this was a year before. Like, I don't really remember why I pulled the tree. It was just like I wanted this tree. So anyway, yoga connects that. I'm going to teach private. So now I have this home, and at this home, there is a separate backspace. Again, you've been there, where I can do privates. Mm-hmm. And that is where my ritual happens. So luckily for me, after all these years, I have a space that's just a short walk across the deck. I go in. Now I have a puppy. My puppy comes with me.
Oh,
New addition to the family. I know, Leigh Mallis.
She got a middle name, guys.
She got a middle
The
name.
dog got the middle name.
Lulu Lovey. So she'll come out, I light a candle, I turn on my salt lamp. I probably should just leave the salt lamp on, huh? But I turn on the salt lamp and I sit down and I meditate. And for me, there are a couple of the meditations that are 3 minutes each that are just sort of like housekeeping pranayama. So one is called Fist of Anger, which I'm not really angry, but it's because I do Fist of Anger.
Oh, good. That's good. I was about, if I had wheels, push away.
Yeah, it's like, I want to change the name. It's sort of, I use it as more as like the energetic windshield wiper. So clean up. Then I do 3 minutes of Ego Eradicator, which is connected to my mantra for the year, unlimited, is to get beyond your ego.
Yeah.
And then I do whatever meditation I'm doing for 40 days. I usually have one ongoing. I'll do it for 11 minutes or more if I have time. And then I leave that ritual and I go and I do my Ashtanga practice with a group of people at Mysore Yoga Atlanta.
So if we do that Kundalini class, can you show us those fists of anger?
Yes.
The energetic
It is.
windshield wiper?
It's so good. Yes.
I mean,
It's so good. Yeah, and there's a lot of 3-minute exercises with the breath, with arm movements that you can do. 3 minutes will affect your electromagnetic energy.
it changes your whole day.
And it also 3 minutes can affect your circulation in your blood. So in 3 minutes you're doing that. And then as you increase your minutes, and there have been times where I've done plenty of 62 and 2.5 hours, but that's my practice. This is my passion. This is my work.
Are you just trying to tell me there's plenty of times where you do it for 60 minutes, 2 hours? Maybe I had something in mind.
Yes. But that those are sometimes special events.
Wow.
Special events. So
The stamina.
This is when I sometimes realize like what are the good words to use? Fanatic around this type of
I wish you
work.
could just see her energy shift right there. It was like a burst of like rainbow light.
In these roles of mother, teacher, wife, right? The teacher in me, a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago now. Time goes by so fast. I decided I needed to go and be trained. I needed to go be a student, immerse myself and be a student. So I chose to fly out to Santa Monica and study with some of the masters of Kundalini, and the whole course was on conscious communication. But it just so happened that while I was there, Rama Institute in Venice Beach was doing 2.5 hours of Longback on cars for 40 days. So I contacted a friend. I was staying in like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Contacted a friend that lived not too far away. I said, "Do you have a bike I can borrow?" Borrowed her bike. Would get up at 3:30 in the morning, and I would bike from Santa Monica to Venice Beach to go to Rama, sit for 2.5 hours chanting Longback on cars with this beautiful group of yogis, bike back, eat a little breakfast, have a little coffee, and then go to training in Santa Monica for like all day. And then come back and do it all over again. And I would get giddy because I'm like, nobody's telling me that I can't. Because I can't. And just like riding back, when the sun is rising and I'm like using my cell phone as my spotlight on this bike in the dark on these roads I've never been on, using my GPS to get to Rama Institute. Now, not everybody would do that, but like it just filled me up, right? And then I come back and it's like I'm ready to go, ready to serve.
Man, I really, really love how you give us permission to love it.
Love it. Love it. Love the
To
discipline.
be passionate about
Love
it.
the discipline.
Or the Lumaplen.
It's anything that takes you out of that normal, right? Like the routine of like
Yeah, and where it gets into, what do you call it, ritual?
ritual.
I like rhythm.
Ritual.
Lumaplen.
Yes.
We're going to
Yes.
find many different ways. And guys, if you, again, love what you're listening to, check out LeighMallisYoga.com. But she is also doing the Instagram. I have to put the in front of everything like my mom does. The Facebook, the Instagram. And that's at Pranic Soul. And you'll see photographs, everything.
Yeah, I like, moderation is my social media. It's like, moderation. But I like to put things that are inspiring or to let people know about events that are coming up.
Right, we're all about giving you what's needed and not inundating you.
Right.
Yeah, we're not gonna swallow
Yeah.
you whole.
Right.
We're definitely going to keep dosing this out. And speaking of that, we are going to have Leigh Mallis back.
Yay.
Yes?
Yeah.
Kundalini.
Love it.
We're going to talk about Kundalini. Maybe show you Fist of Anger. Stay tuned for Fist of Anger. I really am excited about that one.
But you guys are all going to be doing it. It'll be like your 3 minutes before you go online.
Is there anything that you would like to share with the Lumineers or why you have a captive audience? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Well, no, I think that the best thing to say at this point is that Kundalini Yoga, it's not woo-woo, it's true.
Oh!